back and term that she had given birth to those three little stinkers. I love her. And I wrote this song. I knew what songwriters do. Like I tell them, guys, it's not about politics. It's not about preaching. It's about one Papa's way of living in the song. We could have gone to see an old woman in her canoe. An old woman still beside her, such as me. She could have chosen to not believe the angel. She believed and fell down on her and raised her voice and prayed to God who found her worth to carry her inside. Thank God there's Jesus on board. She could have run away and hidden from her feet, as some do when face the practice that you do. She could have chosen to lie to her betrothed, but she went to him and fell down on her knees and told him what she ate. And the message is brought. Then she whispered, I carry her. Thank God there's Jesus aboard. There are so many of God's children who carry unwanted children and breaks your heart and listen. It's not for me to judge or look on the condemnation. I only ask you to take another look at this holy situation. There are gentle folks among you and your side, and together maybe you can learn to love your Lord. You could have gone to see an old woman in her city. Thank God there's
I've never been so encouraged to speak a little longer than planned. But I think we're all better here than we would be trying to head to the buses right now. So, first of all, as we were sitting there hearing the music, and, you know, those of us in the front row were getting a little bit damp, and none of us minded. Larry did. He was pretty upset about it. Everybody else was accepting it. This thought occurred to me that, you know, here we are in the land where Jesus spent almost all of his public ministry. All but a week of it, which was spent in Jerusalem, but 3 years of it was spent here, where we are. And one of the most important things that has happened in his ministry was that he delivered this amazing message that we call the Sermon on the Mount. He didn't say my topic today is the Sermon on the Mount, because that was something that was ascribed to him when he was said it here where we are. And for us to be here, it's kind of remarkable to me that there's a huge difference. When he spoke it, I don't know what the weather was that day, but there was no flooding. And I seriously sat there today and I was thinking as we were trying to huddle and find the drying spot where we were, grateful at least we had the cover, that when he spent his 3 years here in the area of Galilee, he didn't he was speaking and it started raining and all the crowds were there, they got wet. I don't suppose they had Gore-Tex then. Doubtful that they had umbrellas. Not sure what they did, other than get wet and dry out with it. We take so many things for granted, don't we? So many things have changed, haven't they? I mean, we're sitting here with all these nice layers of the highest tech material that keeps us dry, and keeps us warm, that blocks the wind and the wet and all these things. We really do take it for granted. So many things in our world have changed so dramatically that we feel up here in the nice Mercedes bus. We sleep in plush hotel rooms. Jesus didn't have a place to lay his head. When we were coming up here to the Mount of Beatitudes, David Powell, on whose bus I was riding today, commented that one of the unanswered mysteries has been, why did Jesus pick the area around the Sea of Galilee for most of his ministry? How come he didn't spend it in Jerusalem? It was the capital. It was a city of importance. This is a city where the important, elite, influential people were. I mean, he barely spent a week there, and that didn't turn out real well in one sense. Although it turned out great for eternity. He could have spent his time in his birth town, Bethlehem, but Bethlehem was not much of a place either. It was an insignificant little sleepy city. Never had much going on there. Could have spent it in Nazareth. We'll be there later. That's where he grew up. Nazareth wasn't much of a place either. A little more important than Bethlehem, but not much more. And not really a big city in terms of influence and power. It just wasn't. The problem with Nazareth was everybody knew him. More importantly, they knew his parents, and they figured that any kid growing up in a town like that with ordinary parents like Joseph and Mary couldn't be all that important. And so that's why he said a prophet is not without honor save in his own country. And he ended up walking through the valley that you saw on your way here and ended up here where we are today. And for the 3 years in which he taught, and as David Powell pointed out, over 60% of all of the Gospels happened right here, right where we are. And the rest of it pretty much happened in that 1 week of Jerusalem, which of course was so significant because it led to the crucifixion and ultimately, of course, the most important part of the story, the resurrection. But today, what it occurs to me is, why here? Oh, it's a beautiful place. It's one of the reasons I love coming to Galilee. We always build the trip so that we get Jerusalem done first, and even though it may be chronologically out of order, it to me is a better way to do it for this reason. I want to get the stressful, the intense, that, oh my gosh, look at the traffic, dodge that bus, look out for that stone, don't trip on that. Oh, too late, you already did. Want to get that all out of the way so that when we come up here, it's peaceful. It's serene. It's quiet. And it's wet. But, I mean, already, when you looked out your window this morning, did you not just feel a little different than you did when you got up in Jerusalem and you hear all the noises and the traffic and the horns honking and the sirens blowing and the sounds from the minaret? This is just extraordinary. And for the next several days when we're here in the Galilee, I hope that it is a time in which you will absorb some of the serenity that is possible here. But here's what occurred to me. Why here? Then it made perfect sense. Because had he been in Jerusalem, he would have been in the place where man would have expected him to be. That's the place that people had said that's important. It's the capital. It's where the powerful people, the rich people, the influential people. Who lived here?
Oops, sorry.
Fishermen. Carpenters. Poor people. Working class poor people. Who did he come for? He came for everybody, but God identified from the time of his birth in that little town of Bethlehem to his growing up in that insignificant village of Nazareth, to the focus of 60% of his teaching and ministry right here. He came to say that God has not forgotten you. Doesn't matter who you are. You ever walked in a room you felt like you just didn't belong? Everybody else was dressed better.
Sorry.
Everybody else seemed to have more friends. Everybody else seemed to have more money. You just looked around and said, wow, I wish I weren't here. If you ever felt that, God came for you. Because He knows you. He not only loves you, to me the amazing thing is He likes you. I think it's easier to love people than to like people.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to anybody but me? I say, I love everybody. I don't like everybody. To be honest with you, I'm not honest to say I don't hate anybody. There's some people I just don't like. Fortunately, none of them on the trip.
Okay, I'm not into videotaping. It hurts.